Sweet, I'm on. So everybody, this is I haven't done a lot of live stream in a long time, and I got Good Mother with me. So we're gonna review a whole bunch of stuff
Yeah.
on male mental health. So I'm gonna jump right into the article. There's probably several different ones. I think this one's as recent as 2021. Let's see. They changed some of the settings on the StreamYard. It says present.
Present. Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I thought my thing was messed up. I'm like, wow, this is interesting.
Yeah. Now you can also. Mine told me that you can make clips in StreamYard now.
Wow. That would probably tank this little thing.
Right. All right. The pandemic of male loneliness.
Yeah, I think this is one of a couple of them. I'm going to see if I can find a couple of notable stats. Usually they kind of have this spin, and I'm going to see if they have the spin. So males in our culture tend to rely on opportunistic socialization while in a shared activity. See Western. Okay, this we might stumble upon some interestingness here in Western culture. Can you see on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, in Western culture, females are typically socialized, value building, maintaining relationships. They're encouraged to reach out to friends and preserve alliances. Males tend to, I generally agree with that. Males tend to be raised to be more achievement oriented. For them, relationships are often relegated to a secondary benefit. They're kind of forced into achieving because they can't really get attention. So that's how they get attention, is through achievement. They don't necessarily have to be raised to do it. It's just,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess he's right and he's wrong. For them, relationships are often relegated to secondary benefit, byproduct of shared activities like work, hobbies, and sports. For boys and men who rely on opportunistic socializing, I don't know what he means by opportunistic socializing. I don't know. What do you think he means by that?
I don't know.
Keeping at least 6 feet apart, minimalizing. Okay, they're doing the whole convent thing. Also, with faces half covered, face expressions,
Yeah.
obstructed block abilities. Why some men resist reaching out. Okay, I think we're getting to the juices now. In discussions of this issue with various male patients in my practice, they routinely describe how reaching out to make social contact leaves them feeling vulnerable, open to rejection. They fear appearing emasculated. Yeah, that's a big one. There you go.
Yeah.
That's wow. I'm surprised. These boys and men are progressive when it comes to issues on social justice and female equality. Okay, we're going to a different avenue now.
Yep. There's the feminism.
Where are we going now? Despite being woke, they continue to struggle with their own self-imposed isolation. It's not really self-imposed. The damage caused by being raised male in a culture that teaches boys to be stoic and self-sufficient. Okay. Yeah, there's a couple of things wrong with this. I don't know. What do you think about this? I think this is probably like a third of the article, and it's already getting weird.
Yeah. I'm not as much concerned about the article as I am about why there's not enough men in the psychology field.
Do you got any stats on that? I was hoping we could probably add some stats and figures to that. I know the psychology field is starting to become more female dominated, because when I was in psychology, I think in 2000, was it 19? I think it was 2019, 2020 academic year. There was a lot of there were a lot of women. There's like maybe 13 women per every one guy in a class.
That's terrible.
Well, the women were interested in psychology. I don't even know most of their motivation. I know for some of the women they just wanted to know how to manipulate people better. Probably the more narcissistic types, but then other women, they were thinking it was an avenue to help people, which that.
Right. Right. See, witnessed a conversation between three women, and two of them were in studies for psychology. One was in forensic psychology. The other one, I'm not sure, but the other one said that she wants to focus primarily on men and help men, but from the angle of men are bad. She even said something because she has a channel. She fucking terrorizes men constantly in the manosphere, and is constantly poking at them, poking at their wounds.
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking about how these men aren't breastfed, and it's the men's fault somehow, which I don't understand.
Wait, that they're not breastfed?
Yeah, like she's going back to the fundamental problem with them, and she's like, "Oh, they're not breastfed. There's something wrong with them."
So she's implying there's not like a deep connection with their mother or something?
Right. But instead of taking the avenue, because she's like, "Oh, I want to help men because they're struggling and they need to, admit all these faults and they're bad." She's a fucking feminist, pretty much. But instead of saying, "Okay, I want to help these men, let me go towards the mothers. Why are these men the way they are? Why is our society producing men like this?" No blame on the women's part. No blame whatsoever on the women who raise these men. And
Yeah.
I don't, for me, I see a big fucking problem with that. It's like you're constantly trying to play cleanup crew instead of going to the source to stop producing these men.
Right. So then you end up still having the psychosis
Right.
play out in men, but then
Right.
there's kind of a, what is the word? Denial. Egoism is very strong in a lot of emotional individuals. So
Yeah.
it doesn't surprise me that, that seems to be the root to a lot of the lack of accountability.
Yeah.
It's just the ego.
But how is she as a woman being, since, okay, say she's right, say women are responsible for this man, right, being the way that he is. How is a woman gonna come in and fix that? I don't see that that's a possibility. I feel like that man needs another man to really sort that out properly.
Yeah, the man's got to. So I agree with you. I think the man has to be particularly masculine though, because if the man is like a feminist, and if he's like someone who's kind of rooted in the same programming as all the other
Right.
academia, like men and women, then he's gonna have the same issues regardless of whether it's a man or a woman. So he can either have I guess you could say a masculine man, but that would imply that he's not brainwashed by like feminism stuff.
Right. Right.
But you
Right.
get alpha, you get masculine men that still had a little bit of that underpinnings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I've gotten really good at being able to tell when the guy is like that, because I'll say something like, "Hey man, don't you think it was better when we had this or this?" And they'll be like,
Yeah.
"Hey man, equality." And then once I hear that, I'm like, "Nope."
Damn it.
This will be tough dudes, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not just the like tiny shrivelly dudes we think of as like, oh, he's a snivelly little thing. Like no, it's
Yeah.
you'll have dudes, like strong dudes, physically tough dudes with that
Yeah.
same, "Oh no, I support her, bro." It was like, okay, I do too, but like, that's not all there is.
Right. Do you think that's training though, like entrained into them, almost like a self-defense type thing? Like, because when I see a lot of these guys that say that stuff, they're just puppeting what bullshit that feminists fed them. They're not actually coming. Yeah, that's not authentic what they're saying.
They're feminized men. It's
Yeah.
not, the whole feminized men thing is not what everyone thinks it is. They think it's like a man walking around with his wrist out, and he's just blatantly acting like a woman.
Yeah.
The male wants to fit in with the group, so he's adopting the same uh, evolutionary strategy as a woman. The woman goes along with a group to survive, but if a guy
Right.
does that, it's a sign of weakness. And the feminization, I guess, is that he is trying to adopt that strategy, and it's possibly there could be some biochemical aspects as to why guys do that. But the men who are high in testosterone, I don't think they do that. I think they tend to be more disagreeable, and that kind of lends to them having their own opinions.
Mm.
So if a man is going to get help from another man, that man's got to be higher in trade and disagreeableness. He's got to be, I don't know, maybe I'm taking a guess here, high in conscientiousness, maybe high in trade openness and things like that. Uh, just from a purely psychological standpoint.
Hmm.
But also, he has to be oriented, separated from his mother. Um, a lot of um, I think the feminization of men has to do with us being uh, tied too close to mommy. Like we care too much about what mommy thinks.
Mm.
And a lot of men live at home with their moms. Uh, they do a lot with their parents and their mothers in particular and their dads. That also plays into it. If she went into that, and then I would understand. But just saying that the guy, uh, oh, he wasn't breastfed, okay, but that's
Right.
one element out of
Right.
30 or 40 other different things, like
Right.
30 or 40 different ways that he could actually bond with his mother. It's not the
Right.
only way to bond.
Right.
Like for her to
Right.
only look at that one thing is kind of myopic, don't you think?
Well, no, I think it for her it's just kind of a way to twist the knife a little bit. I mean, her whole premise is, oh, these guys have mommy issues, whatever they may be, and you know, let's bring that up instead of focus on not creating more mommy issues. You know, like
Yeah,
stopping that shit at the source.
and I know women have a bad habit of whenever they see males with issues similar to that, they're
Yeah.
not trying to solve it because they're always trying to look out for their own selfish
Right.
interests. They're thinking,
Right.
oh, he's not fit for this. Like she's thinking in terms of hierarchies, and a man can't get help from someone who is trying to sort him out and figure out if he's a decent mate. It
Right.
doesn't make
Right.
sense. That's one of the things I disagree with the therapy. Women sitting down and trying to help men is that if they're within a certain age range, the man is going to be able to sense that that woman is trying to size him up and see that, determine whether he's a good fit for her, regardless of whether she's actually looking for him or not. And
Right.
it's not really good because the man's not going to feel as if he can actually speak to her.
Right.
He's going to feel emasculated. He's going to feel guarded. Speaking to her is
Yeah.
kind of pointless.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why, because I don't know. I feel like in order for any kind of therapy to actually work, you have to be honest. And if you have two opposite sex
Can't be
trying
on.
to, yeah, you can't
Yeah.
really,
Sounds like we got the same opinion.
yeah. Yeah, that's why I don't think women have any business trying to sort men out and vice versa.
Look at all
Like
these people.
especially with crazy women, man. Men can't sort crazy bitches out. They
No,
can't hold them accountable.
you
None
know,
of that.
nature gave us physical strength, and that was supposed to be what was going to allow us to do that. But
Right.
then we got too nice as a society. Oh, you can't touch women, and you can't you can't spank them and stuff. Because guys actually, I don't know if people know this, but guys actually used to discipline women just like we
Hmm.
discipline children. Like not exactly like it, but like it was one of the main methods. It was like there was a threat. there was the threat created the fear, but then it also like breeded a respect. Like
Right.
nowadays, women forget that men are very strong. Like the average man, like even skinny men, can face like 2 or 3 women at a time and like basically floor all of them. Like just the average guy who's I'm talking about a guy who's not like weightlifting or anything.
Yeah.
Uh, are just the modern world, it makes us forget just how brutish men can actually be.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's actually part of why women are treating men the way they are, because they don't realize the kind of creature they're actually talking to.
right. They just expect that men won't defend themselves because that's all they see is men not defending themselves.
Yeah, but the men are just showing self-restraint because
Mhm.
we punish negative male behavior
Right?
readily.
Yep. We have laws for that shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
males are just showing restraint because they don't want their lives to go to shit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look. I'm gonna read a couple of more on this. See if
Okay.
we can find some more articles too. These boys and men are progressive when it comes to issues of social. I read that. Despite being woke, they continue to struggle with their own self-imposed isolation. Damage caused by being raised male in a culture that teaches boys to be stoic and self-sufficient. As one young man puts it, drop me in a crowd and I can work the room. But if I have to reach out on the phone or email, I feel disgusting. Others explain that initiating social contact makes them feel like they are begging for something.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, man. That comes from a deficit of having something. It's almost like these people have never heard the phrase beggars can't be choosers. Normally, experiencing a need for something provides us with the motivation to get it. Okay. We feel hungry, and so we find something to eat. But when boys and men feel a need for a social connection, the competition need to feel self sufficient kicks in. The competing need to feel self sufficient kicks in. Feeling compelled to be self reliant, they may disown their need for social contact. I think I've noticed the many people don't seem to realize that. Hmm, what's his name? There's a couple of guys who are getting a lot of sympathy from just people in general, like Johnny Depp is
Mm-hmm.
one of them. And then there's a recent guy. I'm trying to figure out his name. There's a really recent guy who went to court. Sylvester Stallone
Mm.
recently got, or he's going through a divorce right now. It's probably super expensive. Uh,
Mm. Tom Brady too, I heard.
Tom Brady, yeah. There's a couple of more. But these, I think, what they have in common is people feel more sorry for the men who actually have enough social status for them to justify. I think that's what justifies people feeling sorry for them is the social status, uh,
Mm.
which is weird. It's almost like if a man has enough social status, then he has enough like empathy points, right?
You think so?
To a degree, as long as it's not extreme, like Will Smith. When a guy does something like that, and then even if he has a lot of wealth and status, then it kind of looks bad. But that was literally physical assault, and
Yeah.
everyone saw that. That was pretty straightforward. But when
Yeah.
the guy actually has a case for what he's arguing, it seems like it doesn't count as much against him. Like a low status male can't afford to appear vulnerable because it takes too much status away from him. Like it takes so much status away from like the guy. Uh, I said this on one of my videos. Society, which when I say society, I mean men and women. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Women appraise male social value based off of the emotions and how the male carries himself, the actions that the male does. So the low status males, The reason why they don't express themselves is because they want to retain a certain level of status.
Mm,
That's that's what people don't realize. It's not that they're being trained to do this. They're responding to the environment in such a way that
right.
because without status, males are essentially obsolete. Without being useful to other people and without having enough social prestige, then they're not going to get attention. They're not going to get their needs met that way, and they're not going to get. They're not going to be able to pass their genes on.
Hmm.
So if a guy cries, he could go from okay, he was kind of good to okay, you're not going to pass your genes on. But if you already have enough social status, you can cry. But you know the one at the end of that crying session, the woman can play, oh, he's rich. You know, you have enough status to spare.
Hmm.
You have empathy points. I don't
Do you
know.
think it? What do you think
Right.
about? Because speaking of environment, like, do you think people with what you call lower status? Do you think those kind of people even think anybody gives a shit though?
The lower status.
Because of that? Yeah.
Do I think they give care about what?
Do you think they think anybody would care if they even did cry?
No. Because I mean, and I don't think they do because I think that's part of why males become stoic, um, is because a lot of times they try to express their emotions to people
Right.
first, but then they learn over time after having people respond to them in a negative way that it's not appreciated when they do that. So then
Right.
they adopt stoicism as an adaptation. It's not something they do because they want to. It's not something they do because they want to appear. It's not just something they do because they want to appear more masculine.
Right.
Because that status that they're protecting, like testosterone, I think we've talked about this before. Testosterone is it makes men hyper aware of their social status.
Right.
So then that factors into male uh, emotional expression. So if you got a lot of males who have a lot more estrogen in their system, they're not going to care about protecting their social status as much. So we're going to call those kind of men beta males, or we'll say that those males are like emo kids, right? We'll say
Yeah.
they're like those kind of men. But then that would be based off of that would actually factor into the chemical as well. It's not just social, which the feminists would argue it's oh it's a social thing. Like well yeah it's social, but then the social it's a feedback system that also like the biological element is something you can't ignore because
Right.
women they complain about their problems and they don't actually women like to complain. Like it's not something where they're like complaining and they're trying to find a solution to it. Men when they're complaining about problems it's because they don't have a solution. But women
Right.
complain about things, they literally like complaining because I don't know, I guess it's just a different process. They're not doing it for the sake of finding a solution.
I think that's also environmental too.
Yeah.
Like, because a lot of women, the women that like complaining just for the complaints, they get attention for that, maybe.
Yeah. And they rely on the men. They've relied on society. Women largely rely on other people to help with their problems peripherally. So they're complaining when you think about it, their wiring is the same way children's wiring is. Um, and I know a lot of women will find that offensive, but children are wired to cry and they're wired to, they'll get in front of the TV if they want attention from you. They do really interesting things to get attention. But if you pay
Right.
attention, they do the same things as women in order to get attention. But that attention for both groups is extremely important because both groups are vulnerable in similar ways.
Right.
Like the
Right.
children will cry, women will cry too. It's actually easier for them to cry because of how their tear ducts are. I think women's tear ducts are actually larger, if I'm not mistaken.
Can we go back to why there isn't enough men in mental health,
Sure.
and why our society is suffering due to that?
Yes. I went on a tangent. Let's. I think this is almost over. Do you want to read the rest of? Do you want to go over the rest of the pandemic paper? Then we can try to go find another article.
Well, I'm more concerned with your thoughts and your experience in the mental health field.
No.
Also,
Yeah, I mean, I've only had academic. Like I've never actually been in the work, like the workforce part of
yeah,
psychology, which would be interesting. I hear
yeah,
it's nuts.
yeah, yeah. Well, because listening to these two women talk about, because they're in school right now for psychology. One's going to do forensic something, and then another
Psychology.
she's going to do her own practice. She wants to be self-employed because she wants to be able to emasculate men and get paid for it
Uh,
without anybody being able to fucking fire her.
that's not going to be good. She's going to wreck a lot of dudes.
I know, I know,
She's probably not the only one. I think
I know.
Mandy, like, what's weird, I think a lot of women, when they're going to college and they're achieving, right?
Yeah,
They're doing this purely for their ego, and I
yeah,
think that's kind of making it difficult for them to see the true urgency of
yeah,
having the right things in the right place.
yeah,
Like the whole feminist movement, the women's lib movement. Uh, Women have kind of, I don't know, their egos are kind of making them less receptive to common sense
yeah,
solutions.
yeah.
Uh,
I agree.
you know, a lot of them, they're looking for, 60K. Oh, now I'm making 60K. Now I can afford this kind of lifestyle. Oh, now I have 100K. Oh, now I can go buy that Benz. Oh, I have 150. Oh, now I can do this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's one of the gentlemen in the MGTOW community likes to say their solipsism has solipsism.
Yeah, and I've realized that, like, I don't even argue anymore. Like, Rolo has this thing, and I've sensed it before he actually came up with the term. But he says, like, there's a point of diminishing returns.
Yeah,
I Funny enough, I think a lot of the guys, that the woman who would be in a practice and having a guy and talking to him, those guys would reach diminishing returns pretty quick.
yeah, yeah,
They would pretend that the woman is helping them, and then they would just leave, and then they
yeah,
would probably either off themselves, or just or go and talk to a dude and probably get a lot more out of it just by having a conversation with just an average guy who is
yeah.
not stuck up and who's actually gone through a little bit.
Right,
Like,
right,
talk to a guy who's gone through the family course.
right.
Those guys
Well,
are very, in a way, they're kind of coincidentally red pill. They're very, that would actually help the average guy better than some
yeah.
random broad who's just, in the practice.
Well, but the insurance company will pay for that. So this crazy bitch is going to make money. Also, our
But that's all
taxpayer
it's
money.
about, though.
I know, but our taxpayer money then,
Mhm.
because one of them was talking about she has a child, she's going through school full time, and she was talking about how up in Dallas right now, I guess because energy costs are going up or whatever, that people she knows were urging her to get some kind of assistance for her energy bill. And because she was a single mom and in school full time, they cut her a check for like something like 16 or 1800 bucks to help with her fucking energy bill.
Mhm.
I'm like, do men get that kind of help to go through school? Because
No.
it doesn't seem like that.
Well, the government wants an excuse to be able to spend money because it justifies having the programs, and women grow the welfare state. It's a long
Right.
conversation, but
Yeah.
yeah, that you already know how that works.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, of course the men aren't getting the help because the government expects them to be the net producers, and helping
Right.
the men would kind of negate that idea.
Right.
So men got to pay the taxes and they got to produce the money so that the women can spend the money,
Right.
and women can get the result of the taxes through the state funded or welfare programs.
Right.
So the system, they want the system to flow one way. They don't want they don't want
Yeah.
people digging, from the side. It's like,
Right.
no, you know your role, right? You go out and you work yourself to death for
Right.
your family, and then you pay taxes, and then you go home, and your wife spends stuff, and she buys the movies,
Yeah.
Yeah, and it sounds like for those kind of women who are coming out of the psychology field and they feel like they're deadly because they got all A's and stuff like that, and they scored really high on a lot of the practical exams, and then
Yeah.
they oh, I have my own practice, and they have something to brag about to their girlfriends and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah.
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 There's not really much that can be done. I think what is going to happen is there's going to be. What's interesting is you actually have a lot of very high IQ men within the red pill space.
Mm-hmm.
So the women within those practices, by that time, let's say like 5-10 years from now, the information in this space is going to grow, and it's going to start reaching psychological or psych practice.
Yeah, I know.
Like you have hypergamy. Even hypergamy is being accepted in the academic sphere. Like when I was going through the psych program, hypergamy wasn't even talked about, and we talked about marriage, like levels of marriage. We talked about hypogamy. We talked about marrying down. We talked about marrying in the same class. Endogamy, I think it's called. And then like there was no, and this was when I knew about it because I remember seeing it on the PowerPoint. I remember seeing it on the PowerPoints, and there would be like endogamy, I think, and then there was like hypogamy, and then there was nothing else. And I was thinking to myself like, wait, what about marrying up? And it was almost a no brainer. I'm like, wait, but there's like kingdoms and stuff, like people actually married up all the time. It's like, why aren't they putting this information out there?
Right.
And then I had to think to myself like, oh, because that would make women look bad and make them look shallow and things like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's probably why. There's actually like scream therapy. That was something that was seen as very fringe, but there's a lot of research on that and how that actually helps in a lot of ways. I remember talking to my psych professors about that and them getting livid and saying, oh, that's not a real thing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is the people in this space I think we gotta realize just how intelligent a lot of them are, because these women, when they start their practices, the men are going to start looking for information elsewhere when they realize that the woman has no idea what she's talking about, and they're going to run into red pill information, and it's going to start lining up with some of the clinical information that they'll have, that maybe they'll go and they'll be referred to another practitioner, maybe another therapist or something like that. And the therapist will actually look into some ideas that were in just coincidentally within red pill spaces. And then I think that's what's going to happen. It's going to be like you're going to have a bunch of guys making a mass exodus from those kind of situations.
Well, and by the time those two crazy bitches are done with their degrees and they have that damn piece of paper and that pile of student debt, their feminist ideology is going to be seen as the domestic terrorism that it actually is.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the longest time for a lot of. Now there are women I've noticed they're starting to make content about like the feminist movement and stuff, but it's kind of a little too late. Like you got some women on TikTok making some stuff. There's some lady talking about how like the Rockefellers like funded feminism and stuff like that, and I was surprised. I'm like, okay, well, usually these would be the same women calling like the average guy, like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, or you're like you're nuts, or something like that. And just watching it was kind of nuts. It's like, wow, here it is.
Yeah, that sounds to me like just more people that want to blame men in powerful positions for the things.
Yeah. I was wondering where your expression was coming from. Yeah, they're probably going to do that, or they'll do the whole what do they say, the white supremacist thing.
Right.
They tend to go to.
I'm more, because they say what, follow the money, and they always look at who's giving the money, but they don't put enough emphasis on who's siphoning the money. Like women forever have been able to extract resources from men.
But no one. But we don't blame women for the same reason we don't blame children, because they don't know better. Women.
Well, then why do they have so much freedom? We don't give children that kind of freedom to destroy the world.
You're getting to the source of it. That's the cognitive dissonance in modern society.
Yeah.
We want to treat women like they're just as much of an adult as the average man, but we also want to allow them to express themselves emotionally, like to make choices based off of their emotions, like a child would.
Right.
So society is trying to allow women to do two things at once, and the women are like, the men are looking at the women like, oh, it's like, what is this creature? Right? It's like this. On one hand, it's this very powerful thing, creature, because she's given undue authority, but then she's also not really being held to a standard. And what's funny is that's what breeds the hatred.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of men aren't really they don't really hate women, and I talk about this all the time.
They can't. They're not biologically capable of hating women. It's not in their DNA.
Yeah. As long as they have some connection with their mother, most men really can't. They always find excuses to love a woman, because they're programmed to want to live with one. To some degree, at least until it hurts their head, and then they have to go take a drive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just cognitive dissonance. We're not going to get out of that for another 100, 200 years.
Nah.
It's going to take a lot. It's going to take a long time, because we're not. People aren't okay with being crucified intellectually. You get guys like Jordan Peterson, right? He was made fun of because he was supporting men who were alone. Like, he was talking about incels, and to his credit, he was saying, yeah, women are picky and they're allowed to be picky. Thank God for their, he's saying like, yes, women are picky, but these guys are alone. And he was expressing his, sadness for him, things like that. But he was criticized heavily for showing emotion for men who were alone, like who were abjectly alone. Like that. I think for women to begin to understand a lot of there's a video I actually put in a list because I wanted to go over it. And this will probably kind of paint the picture of some of the stuff we're talking about. There's a lady, I'm pulling it up while I'm talking. There's a lady, she made a video about being alone, and she has a video. It's like, oh, being alone in your 20s is hard. And I kind of watched the video and scoffed at it a little bit. Because I'm like, if this chick was a guy, she would she'd probably wouldn't survive for like a week. She'd probably lose her mind.
It is okay to be so stressed and overwhelmed.
I don't know how much of it I can play without.
I feel like you need to talk to someone about it.
You know how that works?
I mean, going.
Put up a banner, like a fair use banner.
Couldn't I just play the audio or something, or would that not work?
I mean, you could.
I'll try to do that.
Is it copyrighted? Is there like a copyright thing on it?
I'll show you. Hold on. Part of the reason why those women won't be successful in their practice with men is because they don't have the right perception. Can you see this?
Yeah.
So she has a video. It's called "Everybody's Lonely. Here's How Not to Be," and she has let's see, someone. Oh, here we go. So she has this. She has it like broken up in phases. She's like, "Oh, being in your 20s sucks, right?" And then mindset shifts, and she has like a whole bunch of ideas about how to deal with it and stuff like that. And like this is from a perspective of a woman, right? Like like a woman who looks like this would probably get showered with attention, and like they're basically never going to be alone, which is why when I watched the video I kind of scoffed a little bit. I'm like, this is ridiculous. But I guess I did want to watch it just to see what I would get out of it. But I don't know how much I can watch without getting.
What did you get out of it? How much did you watch?
I think I watched like 4 minutes from the looks of it.
Well, what was your takeaway?
I don't know. I wanted to rewatch it to see if I could get something out of it, but I don't know if. Let me see if I can maybe play the audio. Do you think that would? I don't see anything that shows copyrights.
Yeah. Just throw up a fair use banner. Here. Just display this. Put that up there and then play it.
What did you do?
I typed fair use.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Where is it?
There it is. Display that.
I wonder if that would work.
Yeah. Just click.
Like that?
Yeah. Try that.
All right, let's see what happens.
If the stream gets interrupted, then it's copywritten. But it'll give you a warning.
When I was like super isolated, I felt like I had no friends, and I really wanted to start a YouTube channel, but I was like, oh, my friends will make fun of me. And then I was like, bitch, you ain't got no friends. Everybody's still not gonna
What's up?
Pause it because there's an echo. So you're going to have to mute your mic if it's connected.
Okay.
The audio's connected.
Talk to you?
Try that.
I am not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not nothing, really. What I am is a sweet girl with overbearing eyebrows who has spent a lot of time feeling very lonely. So much so that I used to say that loneliness was like my most defining feature, but no longer. And I'll tell you what, the answer was not stuffing my life full of people or forcing myself to be extroverted when I'm not. In fact, it had almost nothing to do with that. I'm going to talk about the mindset changes that were paramount to being able to enjoy time alone, the behavior changes that I did, and the practices I adopted to foster healthier relationships in my life. I feel like it's taboo to say that you feel lonely, but if you have a heartbeat, you're familiar with the struggle of loneliness. It's the most.
I wanted to say before I play a little more, I think that maybe she might actually have some points in here that can be a takeaway. I'm just kind of gonna try to go into it a little bit with an open mind, even though I'm somewhat skeptical of it.
I'm already really skeptical.
Hey, maybe he has good ideas. We'll see what happens.
most relatable. And I wish it was like less weird to talk about. My name is Caroline, and this is a bunch of reasons that you may be feeling lonely, and a bunch of ways that you don't have to.
I find my way. I also want to give a quick shout out to like all the early to mid 20-year-olds out there. Congratulations. You're at the loneliest time in your life. There's so many things just like logistically built into what happens at that age in our life right now that makes it, I think, a super isolating and super high pressure time. But just know that if you're early to mid late 20s, I'm sorry. And know that it's not just you. It's literally everybody. But whatever age you are, we're all gonna have to spend time alone in our lives. It's a fact. You can encounter being alone or feeling isolated because you're going through a breakup, because you moved to a new city, moved to a new country, you don't speak the language, you're stuck in a job you hate, grieving a loss, working remotely, in a bad relationship, you're spending all day with children, or maybe you're doing too much in your life. All of these things can actually make you feel isolated. And I'll say them without judgment because I've done every single one of these things. Alone time and isolation does happen, but being alone is not the same as being lonely.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I mean, to start, I want to hear at least, I'm going to try to do at least maybe five more minutes.
She said spending all day with children and talking about being lonely.
Yeah,
Like, what the fuck?
which is why I was kind of like, when I first watched it, because she was like, everyone is like this. And I'm like, and she's like, when you're in your 20s, you're at your loneliest. I was thinking like to myself, at first it's like, wait, but when women are in their 20s, they're like at their most valuable and people are always like hitting them up for attention and stuff. It's like, I'm talking about just like physically being alone, like not like because she's talking about like, she's probably talking more about like, or I think she's talking about the spiritual aspect of loneliness, where it's like, I don't feel full because I don't like have like a purpose or something like that.
Maybe. Or she's just a liar and is never authentically connected with anybody in her life. I mean, how can you be surrounded by children and feel lonely?
That's actually really hard. But I'm gonna
Yeah. Like
5 or 10 more minutes.
Now, I could just name a bunch of activities of stuff to do when you're alone to fill your alone time, but I bet you've tried that, and I bet it hasn't worked that well for you. And it didn't work very well for me either until I did some other mindset shifts that changed the experience of loneliness for me. As a middle child, I always needed people around me, super codependent, was always getting into codependent relationships. I could not be left alone. And then something changed. And now, I don't have life all figured out. I still struggle with plenty of things, but loneliness is no longer one of them. So number one, the most important step for me was detaching the experience of being alone, spending a time alone, from the idea of what it means about me, what it says about me, some negative judgment about what it means that I'm alone right now. You got to detach those things. Meaning is all made up, right? It's all fabricated by us. And actually, if you're alone, congratulations. It means you're quite normal. You know how I know? Because I talk to people, first of all. And
She hurts my head a little bit, but
I already have a headache. I'm thinking, why are you torturing me with this crazy bitch?
I'm gonna say a few points, and then there's Harley.
What's the point?
Which one is Harley?
Lucienne Epstein.
Oh, she changed her. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. She started a channel.
That's what's up.
Yeah, a wife and gonna be mother channel.
Excellent.
With another chick that we know, Marie.
What's funny is I know her archetype right off the bat.
Harley, what's hers?
She is a feminine. She's a feminine sacred heroine.
Oh, she used to be a feminist.
Yeah, feminine sacred heroine. Yeah. They do terrible stuff too at first, but then they I guess those are the women that they actually hold themselves accountable and they learn some stuff, and then they like an immediate change. Those are probably the women that guys, when they see them initially, they like immediately like wife them up. Like they disappear from the market like really quick.
Yeah. She's like, what? Oh, I don't know. I don't know if she knows.
Oh, the archetypes. Yeah, we're placing you in. You're an archetype because I have on my channel. I talk about archetypes of people, and the feminine sacred heroine is an archetype I use for a female who actually learns to be virtuous through her own mistakes. She like holds herself accountable and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to draw a few points from this, and then we'll move on. I do want to view. Well, I think her content. She was actually talking. She's talking to women is what I realized, because she never uses the language outright, but she was saying like your 20s is going to be your loneliest time. It's like, no, it's not. like women are not alone in their 20s. They're literally bombarded with attention.
See, they should be having children.
They should. I mean, that's their most prime time for attention.
Yeah.
They have the most amount of suitors, like the most amount of attention they'll ever have. So like the options are there. But I guess you have this new thing where they're like, oh, I want to enjoy my my 304 phase.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I guess let's do some more torture.
Oh, you want to be more torture? See, let me see if I can go to a different section, because I don't want to go to this whole mind shifting.
Mindset shift. Toxic positivity
means you're human. Can you guys hear that bird? There's like a lot of nature happening very loudly right now. Being surrounded and patted by people doesn't always make you feel less isolated. Some of the loneliest times in my life have been from within a committed romantic relationship. The second biggest mindset shift for me was understanding that the opposite of loneliness is not company. The opposite of loneliness is connection. Because Lord knows you can be surrounded by people, and if you don't feel understood and known, it's the loneliest feeling in the world. There's nothing worse than like going on a blind date and feeling so unknown by the person sitting across the table at me. You'll feel alone. You'll feel alone after that date. This is good news, because by the same note, you can find connection in more than just people. And that's really good, because you can't control other people, even our best friends, even our partner. We can't control how and when they're able to show up for us. And that's okay. For me,
See, the language she uses is so ugh.
Well,
I don't like it.
I think it's important to watch stuff that's irritating to you as much as it is stuff that's comfortable, because the perspective that she's talking about, imagine those women that you're talking about in the psychology field, this is probably their opinion too. They think
no, it's not their opinion.
No, I know it's their opinion, but it's like
puppeting bullshit.
Yeah.
But they're puppeting bullshit because they're bullshitters. Kush, maybe you should talk to Kush about this. he knows why this is torture for me.
Well, I kind of agree with what you said. She was saying that you can't really connect, or connection makes you lonely. So that would imply that she's not good at finding people that she can connect with. She's just finding people.
No. She's not good at being an authentic person.
Oh, so she's just finding the people who are just mirroring her inauthenticity.
Maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if she shows up to parties and people are just as terrible as her, basically.
I don't know. I don't even know what she's even talking about.
All right, I got a couple more clips. There's this one's probably actually sponsored. Hold on. Let me skip the ad.
Where's your fair use banner?
Oh, did I get rid of it?
Who's Snackalini? See, she's got pink hair.
Who?
I don't know. Somebody in the chat. I've never seen him before, but the hair suspect.
I think you're about to get judged, Snackalili. The judgment.
Oh, you interviewed her at the mall?
What are you talking about?
Did you interview her at the mall?
I interviewed you at the mall. Really? Oh, cool. Oh, wait. No, I don't remember. I do that all the time. I go out and I'll show people, I'll give them information about my channel, and I'll do questionnaires sometimes. And sometimes they pop up. Like, I'm surprised that a person popped up. That's cool. By the candy store.
Well, I'm glad it wasn't Walmart.
I'm gonna pull up another video. I gotta cut these commercials out.
Well, I'm glad you're here, Snackalini, for some torture. So
yeah,
be
I'm glad
prepared.
we talk about stuff. This is actually the first live stream in a while that I've done. I usually just do solo videos. All right. Oh, by the way, Snack Lily, since you're here, check this. No, not this person. Check her content out. She has good content.
Who, the chick you just shared?
I was pointing to you. See?
Oh.
To check your content out.
Yeah.
So she mainly focuses on faculty, school, like, and like diversity and stuff like that. She tries to attack a lot of very strange social things that kind of infiltrate the college sector. But then she also looks at, or she heavily criticizes a lot of like feminist policies and stuff like that that are just kind of nonsensical, which we all kind of do, but we attack it from different angles.
And crazy bitch behavior.
Yeah,
So.
that too.
Mainly.
So it's good to actually have a balance because, like, here I am a guy, but then you have a woman saying, "Oh yeah, it's a real thing, right?" Because then people
no, it's actually way worse than you think, Iron Sun.
Say it worse.
Yeah. Every chick knows how crazy women can be and how much they get away with in our society today.
Silent.
Any women that deny it are just covering because they're cowards. And they think going along to get along with the crazy bitches will lead to the best outcome because they know deep down that they're fucking in charge. So it's bullshit.
All right. So Abin Preach recently made a video on male loneliness. What did he do? He did a video, the title, or they did the video. Hold on. I'll just bring it up instead of talking about it. I was watching this in my car today.
Mm.
Come on.
I'm going to keep listening, but I'm going to go potty real quick.
Sure. This little Chromebook is doing a good job. I'm proud of you, Chromebook. You said you got a question, Harley? What's your question? Thank you for your question. I'm going to play this video.
So there's this viral tweet going around from a Tumblr account from a person named Zan, who is a trans man, detailing the culture shock he's experienced post-transition. It was really eye-opening and interesting to hear that he has been perfectly positioned to gain insight into unique gender dynamics and social conditioning. So I'm just going to straight up read most of Zan's post to you because I thought it was incredibly perceptive. And I want to amplify it, but I don't want to risk messing up his words or his message. So here we go. I'm pretty quiet about the fact that I'm a trans man, but holy shit.
You know there are trans men who don't wear mustaches, right? But I don't know. It's just, to me, it just seems very gender normative to do the impression of a trans man you've never seen or heard and then assume that they would have a mustache. But whatever. If you call that inclusivity, good for you, girl. Oppressive ass bitch. Sorry. I'm not gonna lie, man. You know what?
It feels good, eh?
Being like
feels good, eh?
a canceling SJW.
It feels good, eh?
Yeah.
I see what they.
Yeah.
I see why they do it sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to be a jackass sometimes.
Yeah, you remember?
There's this huge sense of social isolation that comes with being perceived as male, because now people are subconsciously treating me as a potential predator. All strangers, no matter their gender, keep their guard up around me. It made me realize that there is no inherent camaraderie in male socialization like there is in female socialization, unless, of course, it's in very specific environments. And the fact that I don't ambiently experience this mutual kinship in basic exchanges anymore is an insanely lonely feeling. You know how bad this would have fucked up my mind if I had grown up like this? It is 4:30 a.m. and I'm mourning the loss of a privilege I didn't know I had.
Yes. Yes, welcome.
Yeah.
Put it there. One of us. One of us. One of us.
To summarize, a woman becomes a man and realizes it's hard. And I ain't talking about the dick. You feel me? It's just difficult. Yeah. You're a cis male. Yeah, shit's hard. I am. Shit's fucking. It's not easy.
It's just that we make it look easy.
They said they were about to get a copy. They were about to get a strike for this video.
Really?
Apparently, and they just kind of went along. They made it anyway. I was surprised to hear that.
Harley said, do you think women's standards have changed or men's ability to meet those standards has changed? I think it's women who have changed, personally. Their standards also, their jobs, their real jobs, not their careers. their actual role in society has changed big time.
It's not women's standards. Women don't act alone. Women follow the standards of the precedence of what everyone else is doing. So when they're saying they have standards, they're not actually making these standards independently. I think both. You could argue that both are happening simultaneously.
Yeah, it's because as women push men out of the workforce, men are having a harder time meeting those standards. So,
yeah, I think they have changed, but I guess the reason why they've changed is
because of women.
I guess it's the question. Men's ability to meet those standards. So, yeah, it goes into some of the stuff we already like we talk about ad infinitum. Like, you change the economy to where women, their finances match or outpace the males. It's gonna change their perception of the prospective partners that they have, and that's gonna be the standard that women have. Is gonna be that change. Partly. Some people argue that it's like, oh, women want emotionally stable men. They want men. There's actually an article where a guy argues that, like, oh, well, women are expecting more from men emotionally and men need to step up and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I mean, look, it's not bad to have standards from partners, but a lot of times, kind of like what you were talking about earlier, Mandy, when people bring up issues in society, it always goes back to the men. Like, they don't like to, no one likes to blame women.
Right.
things because you blame women and then you hurt someone's feelings, right?
Right.
But we want to treat women like adults, but we can't
Rely on them like they are adults.
yeah, we can't tell them to handle hard things. We hand them hard things. They go, "Ow, that hurt." Like as a collective, we can't give them something and say deal with it, because then they'll just look at us like, "Oh, well, you're evil, you're bad."
Patriarchy.
You do get some so there are some women who can take accountability, but they get I think what happens is they get, you get the ones like you were talking about who are silent and they don't talk about it. But then you also get the ones who they're talking about it, but there's too many other women going,
oh yeah. Yeah.
There's a funny clip that's gonna play after this. It's really funny.
I mean, this is not easy. She's talking about like everyone sees you as a predator. I know. Yeah. Listen, sometimes I'll just be walking home late at night and a bitch will be in front of me and I know she's scared. I'm like, I ain't trying to touch you. Like, but you acting terrified, so now I gotta watch how I didn't do nothing. I want to go home, masturbate, but she's over there trembling like I'm about to jump her from behind. I just existed, and I understand why.
Like when I cross a girl in the street, and I cross a girl, she's right there. I'm right walking my line, right? She walking her line, I'm walking my line. If she looks away, I gotta look away, just to show her that I am not interested. I am not trying to make a move, boo-boo. I'm not going there, you know what I mean? So I have to walk and look away. If she looks at me and we cross eyes and she smiles, I gotta smile, look down, and look away for her to keep on going, knowing that she just when she's, when they do that, white people, they see black people and they go like, that's cross a girl. Yeah. She does.
You do everything.
So he's referring to the little micro signals we kind of give off to each other without knowing. It's like little subconscious, like our subconscious. So like there's some things that women will do subconsciously around men that they don't know. Like sometimes they'll smile like this. It's like a nervous smile. It's like that. It's like really quick. But then for a lot of guys, they see that as a sign that the woman is like she's uneasy around the guy. Like it's not like a long smile. Like there's a difference. Like some women they'll smile and it'll like their face will wrinkle and it's like a big bright smile. And the guy will be like he'll be like, wow, like that was a big smile, and it'll probably make him smile. But then there's a smile, like a nervous smile where she'll smile, but then she'll like look to the side or something like that. Or like walk, which there's a lot of different signals, but they're just referring to like the little micro signals we send each other to where we're trying to figure out how to make each other's lives easier and things like that.
When I hear white people and black people, I just instantly I'm like, okay, just another fucking ideological bullshit that I'm so sick of fucking hearing about.
I just move on. Yeah, bro. And I've done shit, but it is what it is.
I used to think women liked animals, so when I would walk by them, I'd be like, shit doesn't work when it comes from a man. It don't work when it comes from a man. I'm just saying, you don't like me. Listen, I don't even go to parks so I can. I don't want kids around. I don't want nobody. If I see kids, there's a meme.
No.
In a TV show.
I'm closing that
Don't
shit.
keep the kid away from.
Oh yeah. We're not doing that.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you guys a step up. Okay, this is something that you want to know how deep this shit goes. This is something that I know is true. That's fucked up. That even you watching, you would say, "Oh yeah, I think that way as well." Okay, women and men, watch it right now. This is something that you think. Any of you motherfuckers have kids? Great. You go to a daycare and there's a man working there, you get suspicious.
Oh, I'm stopping it just for a second. They're really goofy, but I like that they're like that because a lot of the issues they're talking about are pretty serious. So it's good that they're acting like that because a lot of the normie types who don't really think very often, they just kind of go along with life. It's kind of important that they can like this. I think videos like this are very large red pills for large groups of people. So the fact that it's getting out there, like where you have a transgender person who actually gets a glimpse at what male life is like, is interesting. Hopefully they go back into it. I don't remember what. Hold on, there might be some timestamps. No, there's no timestamps. I'm gonna play a little more.
In fact, most women I know have openly admitted that they would not leave their kids in a daycare with a man. Here's where it gets worse. Men also share that sentiment. Now, understand what this means. A man has simply existed, done what they like, and assumed to be a predator. In fact, there's plenty of daycares that will not hire men for that very same reason. This is not an exaggeration. You can do some Google searches, okay? Men will tell you it's very difficult for them to teach young children or any of this stuff because they get asked weird questions or there's a heightened sense of security around them. Now, look, I'm not here to come after the parents. I understand as a parent, that's your seed. You want to protect them. You're like crazy about protecting them. But I also want to appreciate it's not fair that I just simply exist in the world and I'm immediately saying, but that's what it is.
But there's nothing we're going to do about
That's
that.
it. I don't piss and moan. I don't cry about it, but it's the fact. It's a fact.
A girl seeing a kid, oh, your kid is very beautiful. Me seeing a kid, your kid is cool. I ain't saying nobody beautiful.
Nope.
That little shit ain't beautiful.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Frankly, this is something I would have never understood without living the experience. It is now blatantly clear to me that most cis men probably experience chronic emotional malnutrition. They're deprived of social connection just enough for it to seriously fuck with their psyches, but not enough for them to realize that it's happening and what's causing it. It's like they're starving.
Okay.
She said cis men.
Yeah. I'm
I
aware
don't-
that some people still have like the ideological framework in their thinking, but I still find ways to like pick little things out of it. Because if you notice, she said like the malnourished thing that she was talking about, that's a real thing. And that like, even though she still has little words like that come from ideologies, you can still see certain elements that people would kind of get that aha moment where they'd be like, oh, this is what it's like to be a guy or something like that, or they experience that. That's what I focus on.
You're looking for a lot of wheat through a lot of fucking chaff, man.
Yeah, you kind of have to, Mandy. Like a lot of these nowadays, people like ideologies are just kind of saturating academia, and most of the people in academia right now are women.
Yeah,
they're the ones learning the feminist rhetoric and the postmodern rhetoric right now. Most men are dropping out, right? So they're not absorbing all that stuff. They're just coming up with their own thoughts.
They wouldn't absorb it anyway, and they drop out because they're oversaturated with fucking bullshit that our taxpayers support.
Yeah.
I'm not even a fan of daycares, period. I mean, I don't think it's natural for a man to want to go work at one of those unless they've been pressured into that shit.
It's not, but what's happening is because of the economy, men are starting to they're compromising their own natural instinct because of the economic necessities of their family. So you get women saying like, well, it's okay if he wants to stay at home, then, that's his choice. And I love them all the same. And they'll say these things consciously, but deep down, they know full well they like have this deep disgust for their men, right? Like it's kind of so messed up that women, a lot of times they'll go along with things knowing full well that they don't actually like it deep down. I always thought that was weird how they can like compartmentalize their disgust for things and just say things outright that are completely the opposite of what they actually want. But
I don't get it.
That's the same mechanism that makes them a little bit easier to control in a lot of ways. But yeah, the changing of the roles it's a compromise. It's the male's compromising his masculinity because he thinks it's an economic necessity, but it also because he wants to please his wife. So then that goes into the feminization thing too.
Right.
Harley wrote something that looks a little different.
I'm not worried about him being a predator. I'm worried if he's able to care and nurture my child the way I would. It's more natural for women than men. It's true. I agree with her on that.
And here's the thing about designating like roles for a specific thing. It actually gives people more intrinsic value. Like it makes people feel more needed. And that's what we're missing in society. That's one of the reasons why people feel part of the loneliness is that we don't feel useful to each other anymore because we're all doing the same things. Like when women had their role, that like a few group of angry women convinced the larger group that, hey, you're being oppressed and stuff like that. It's like, but
these mentally ill man-hating bitches, we'll just call them.
He's gonna come home and he's gonna get a warm cooked meal, and my kids need me. Like I'm needed. He's needed. Like everyone's needed. So like
everybody has their own damn job.
Yeah, which is like that's like a corporate nightmare, right? Because it's like, oh God, everyone's needed, so we can't make pre-cooked meals, and we can't do the Sam's Club thing anymore, where we got carrots and stuff lined up because you got a bunch of broads at home doing that. So then everyone, you get these companies freaking out. It's like, oh my God, like we got to figure out how to get them back in the workforce so we can monopolize. I want to play a couple more.
Are you frozen?
Oh, I'm just muted.
Oh.
Do you have any opinions on Abba and Preach, the video, or just their content in general?
I'm not a huge fan of them personally. I hear black and white way too many times, and I'm so fucking sick of hearing it. So I'm a little allergic to the race-based identity politics.
Yeah, it's really annoying. I can understand.
Yeah.
Stop. You're using your standards as a woman and assuming that because we don't have the same lived experience as you, that therefore we are fucked up or something terrible is happening to us. What? All right? The same way that trans woman who became a trans man isn't a man. Not in the way that cis men are. She doesn't have our lived experience of having lived as a young boy and a young man in their entire life. So she's got her own, or he's got his own experience. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm trying to say?
And we cannot deny that.
Yes.
That would be denying the whole experience. It would be like saying, I don't see color. No, you're denying all the experiences that person is living.
Black people should stop being so fucking racist and indoctrinating their children into being racist. How about that?
What do you mean?
Their lived experience on being indoctrinated into being fucking paranoid that people hate them because they're dark or something.
Yeah, that gets really bad.
Yeah. The most racist people I've ever fucking met are black. We have a race problem in our country, and it's not the fucking white people.
Well, it's a handful of the white people that aren't obvious, and it's also the black people. But we don't like to blame the underdog. We don't like to blame the perceived underdog, I guess.
Yeah.
Like blaming, I guess it's it's illegal to blame black people because just like women, black people are like seen as morally superior to other groups. It's really weird. No,
even though they, yeah.
Like even like you watch watch some of the. I'm not frozen, am I?
No, you're good.
You watch some of the shows on like Netflix and stuff. Like you get to like black people trying to like teach people lessons and stuff. They'll be like, "No, you're not supposed to do that."
Right. Morally superior victims, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't make sense. It's just feminism in blackface is what it is.
That's an interesting way to put it. Let me.
Hello, Ghost Shura.
By the way, that live stream I did when I did it's not playing. When I talked about my red pill experience and stuff like that when I was first learning about a lot of this stuff. That was really cool. I actually went back and reviewed some of it, and I was like, "Wow, that's
yeah."
It was super. Like I reviewed a lot of them. Like, man, I really went in depth, but I could actually feel the stuff I was talking about. I'm like, man,
yeah, no, it was really good. It was good.
I like the little car chat idea. I might have to do that in the future, just whenever I'm driving, pull over and do like a car chat.
Well, in your origin story, you know. People want to know that shit. I want to know why you picked the name The Iron Sun.
Sure. We could talk about that now.
Please.
I've debated changing it quite often.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of see whenever I make my videos, I'll throw out little titles, like little ideas. Like I'll change it to like the Iron Tyrone. Like as a joke, and I'll change it to like the more recent one was Iron Sight, and then there was like the Iron Philosopher, and then there was the Iron. There's probably like 6 or 7 different ones. I also wanted to change the fist to like the Stormtrooper.
Yeah,
I was gonna do the Iron Bonaparte. Very corny, right?
Right.
I think part of it was a connection to my mother is why I called it the Iron Sun. Would you have guessed that?
Yeah.
So when I first started, there was a separation between me and my mom that was going on psychologically. The Iron Chad, little on the nose, too much. I thought about that one. No. Yeah, there was a lot of separation. She was in the process, like she was thinking I was a little too unwieldy, like, oh, you're misogynistic and things like that. And that was when I was first realizing that, like, she didn't really know what she was talking about. Right. And it happened later for me, and I was kind of angry about a lot of the processes of things happening later. But it wasn't just her. Like a lot of my family was like calling me like a misogynist or just saying that I hate women and stuff like that.
Right.
And so that was like a very interesting ladder stage for me that I was going through. But the Iron Sun idea was that I still saw myself as a son.
Yeah.
To my mom, but I kind of saw myself as branching off and becoming my own man. So the idea of it was that I would go eventually evolve from the Iron Sun to something else. Yet to be seen what that title will be, but I'm definitely gonna change. I'm gonna change the fist thing because I always make a joke whenever I'm talking to people about. It's like it's not communism, right?
Right.
Because people see the fist, and if they're astute, they'll be like, "You a communist?" I'm like, "No, I'm not a communist, man. I'm not a communist. I'm not a socialist. So I'm not a practice communist, right?"
Yeah.
How did you fix the loneliness of men? Should men be more compassionate towards each other, or should women be more open to all men?
Neither. Well, so if feminists weren't too busy getting the men to fight each other while they're stabbing them all in the fucking back, I think to fix the loneliness in the men, we need to uninfect our society with this feminist bullshit and quit blaming men for doing the things that women are doing.
Yeah, I agree. I think GM's coming at it from a slightly. I think she's pretty much saying the same things. I would just focus more on the economy. Women don't really innately care about men. They care about men when it's opportunistic, like when it actually benefits them. So a man would have to have, in order for a woman to want to show compassion just to the common man, he would have to have something that she wants, right? So we have to focus on how to get like a lot of men in the gym and how to get their finances at a place where they would be desirable to the common woman. The Iron King. It's not a bad title. It's not bad. You're on to something though, sure. A bit ostentatious for me, but you're on to something. I don't like being too open like that, but it's not a bad title. To what you were saying, I'm gonna actually put it on the screen because that's just a good question. You can't fix the loneliness of men without uprooting the feminist programming. To GM's point,
Yeah.
You have to get rid of that.
Quit oppressing men and quit isolating men. How about that?
Because if you try
that would help. Quit abusing men. Quit making them feel like shit for wanting basic human fucking rights and biological imperatives. How about that? How about we quit emasculating men for being men?
This is something that women aren't going to like to hear, but they're not naturally compassionate to men. They're compassionate to like dogs and like little small animals and children, but they're not compassionate to just the common man, because with the common man, women view men through the lens of what they need. So if a man doesn't have what they need, then they don't really want to concern themselves unless they're their kin. Like if they're their kin or like family or something like that, then of course they're going to do something to help their family to some extent. But women don't have the same instinct to protect and provide for guys in the same way guys do. Guys actually have instincts to protect and provide for women, even when they're not their kin.
Right.
And we kind of forget that in society, that men are more compassionate than women, just as a whole. It sounds like women don't like hearing that, but it's the truth. Women are just naturally more selfish because they had to be for us to survive in the past.
Right.
When we can actually face reality and then actually just throw in the right bolts so the system will work.
Yeah. Well, you just got to get the damn women out of the fucking way. They're in the way. They're in the way.
I don't even think you have to get them out of the way though. Like you could just focus on.
No. Iron Sun. They're in the fucking engine room taking apart the engine.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And they don't even fucking know what they're doing. They didn't build the damn thing. They didn't build it. They just want to be paid for maintaining it, and they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, they want the status of the role, but they don't want the responsibility that comes with it. Yeah.
Right. They're in there trying to make the engine room a home and make it comfortable for the people that work there.
Wow,
because they need to be home having children. They need to be doing that in the home.
Yeah,
and
that's a
making
good point.
everybody in the home get along.
So they're kind of
And
like
care for
yeah.
everybody's feelings at the home.
That's hilarious.
It's
A lot of
displaced fucking mommy energy, man.
I think a lot of evolutionary biologists would agree with what you're saying. They would just use
Yes. Oh, I know.
terms.
Yeah.
Like what's that one guy? There's a couple of like busts. He'd probably agree with you. He'd probably backtrack a lot though. Rolo would agree with you, and there's a couple. Pinkner would. I don't know what he would do. I need to start reading a little bit more of his stuff. But yeah, your analogy is really good. That we do need to get them out of the engine room.
Yes, fire them. They're not mechanics.
Well, we kind of had that happen with the lockdowns and stuff like that. A lot of women did lose their jobs and stuff.
I know.
They kind of went back to
Yeah.
a lot of more traditional elements, but
Not enough though. We still have way too many women on our government. They don't belong there.
You don't think? Okay,
No.
maybe they can facilitate. I mean, I guess there's different.
No, they're not protectors.
You don't have to put them in legislative roles, so they can still be in like they can still have like state jobs and stuff.
No, because all the jobs that were created for these degree-holding women shouldn't have been created in the first place.
Right, because it's extra money, and they were just trying to justify that women could go out and work by making like pencil pushing jobs. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And these jobs that they're currently in were only created because a necessity, because women weren't in the homes properly raising their children.
Well, yeah.
So,
I mean, you could almost say that the jobs were created so that they could figure out a way to justify taxing the other half of the population as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was waiting for the collective "oh" moment to ever come, but I never heard it.
No, because not enough women have the courage to fucking speak up.
Well, if they don't have the courage to speak up, then maybe they don't need to be in those roles.
Exactly. It's because they are cowards, and men seem to be afraid of cowards.
Men do need to be more selfish, Shura, but it's not in their nature.
Right?
Men's nature is not selfishness. The ship is down. All right.
I can't imagine what it's like to have been born a female, okay, and then gone through your whole life, a sizable portion of your life as a woman, and then transition and all those things. The same way the trans man can't understand what it's like growing up as a young man and then growing into that. You don't understand.
It's like they're starving, but they don't know this because they've always been served 3 meals, except those meals have never been big enough. This deprivation comes from all sides of the aisle, by the way. In the case of women, when I'm out in public and interact with them, all of them come off as incredibly aloof, cold, and mirthless. I have never experienced this before, even though I know exactly what this composure is, the armor that keeps away creepy-ass men. As someone who used to wear this myself, I know that this armor is 100% impersonal. Nobody likes wearing it. And I can say with absolute certainty that women would dump the armor in favor of unconditional companionship with men if doing this didn't run the risk of actual assault. Trust me.
Fuck, I hate this feminist. I don't like her at all.
She said something that was kind of nuts and really unrealistic.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I just want to point that out. So women are high in neuroticism. They're high in negative emotions. So when you actually have
crazy bitches.
Yeah, when you have campaigns of information and propaganda that are saying men are violent, men will, they'll grape women, they'll do all these other things, and that it's not safe to go out and walk at night. Women will take that to the most extreme because they're naturally rooted in like more negative emotions and like more neuroticism. So they don't know how to moderate that information throughout their regular lives. They just hyper focus on it. Like there's actually a part in women's brain that is larger. There's actually a part in women's brain that's actually like the center in the brain that focuses on worrying about problems. It's actually bigger in women than it is in men. So if you which is probably contributes to the trait narcissism, or not the trait narcissism, but the neuroticism, the higher neuroticism in women. Yeah, I was surprised too. I think there was a book I was reading in Barnes and Nobles, and it was talking about the brain differences between men and women. It was talking about.
Well, yeah, like Kevin Samuels said, men's brains are like waffles, and women's brains like spaghetti.
Yeah, that's the common representation. But that, like the thing that she's talking about, how women would chill out and they would just coalesce with men. That's like no. They
would chill out and just coalesce with men if feminists weren't too busy terrorizing and fear-mongering their media in every structure of society. If these women, typically radical lesbian feminists that hate men, if they would just shut the fuck up and quit lying, that would happen naturally.
Yeah, the women are already saturated in their own trauma, though, and they're kind of
it's vicarious. It's vicarious trauma, though.
Yeah, but it's
not
already
real. It's not real.
You can't really stop emotional people. They tend to double down on their own thoughts about things. People who are rational and logical, they don't double down. They tend to cut off things and make things more efficient.
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm saying. Fire these fucking women.
Yeah, feminists are smart because they know women are very emotionally. They know women are emotionally unstable inherently, so they just throw fuel on the fire every now and then, and they don't even have to really work to make it, get worse. There's a lot. It just catches on to another tree, and it just flames and just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's really smarter than they make it look like they're crazy, but they're very methodical and very they're not all just dumb people.
Who, the feminists?
Yeah, they're not all just dumb.
No, they are dumb.
Some of them are working with corporate interest to actually.
No. They terrorize corporations because they're typically run by men.
No.
They're not smart.
Corporations benefit from feminism.
No, they think they benefit because all these corporations predominantly employ women. So if they just had to fire all those women, they wouldn't have to save so much money by bending a knee to these tax things.
Oh yeah, but I mean, yeah, you do get, because a lot of corporations are being forced to have a bunch of quotas and stuff like that.
All of them.
I think before that happened, then yes, they would benefit from women, but now they're kind of just being held at gun. That's hilarious. They're kind of just being held hostage now.
Yes, they are. They are.
But it's hilarious. The hilarious thing is they were the ones who went along with it. So the fact that
because women talked them into the shit. Women talked them into the shit.
I can't really feel sorry for them. It's a good point. So it's weird. So they benefited from it, but now they're about to start reeking. It's about to suck.
It already sucks.
I mean, you already have businesses that tried to hire all women employees, and some of them have already failed. But I haven't heard a lot about the diversity businesses, but pretty much any, you go on any college site, you go on TAMU's website.
Yeah.
You go on UNT's website. You go on
the
University of.
There's a professor from UT suing Texas A&M.
Why?
You haven't heard about that?
No.
Here, I'm going to send you a link. I want you to react to it. How about that? Can we get off this torture
Yeah, we can get off this.
with some good news? This is good news. Richard Lowry is his name.
All right, I'm just waiting for the link.
Okay.
See what is happening and see what people are saying. How many invoices did I have correct for our accountant today? What are you talking about?
Kush. Yeah, Kush is talking about incompetence in his workplace. There you go.
It's time to take action. Start by talking to your doctor to see if...
See what's going on. Oh snap! That's pretty recent.
Yeah.
This looks fun.
It is good news.
You want to know something funny?
What?
There's this lady who worked at the TAMU here, the Central Texas, and I was flirting with her while I was on my job. I got her number, and she's like one of the senior advisors or something there or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
She gets around, but it's I won't go into it, but
Yep.
it's really funny. It's like Jesus, I was assuming she was older and childless or something like that, and just had a bunch of cat. Anyway, they have a campus here in Killeen, a little small.
Yeah. Did I tell you that I got subjected to some racial sensitivity training by a person that works in the psychology field here in Houston? Oh, you're muted.
Leland, I think it's because they think that they can get away with it. It's because university administrators have been so captivated by the institutional left, by these woke institutions who think that what we have to do in this country to thrive together as a national body is to hold down certain racial minorities while they bring other ones up. And that's been illegal for decades. It's been wrong. It's always been wrong to discriminate against Americans.
It's kind of surprising, though, that this would be happening in Texas, right? Is it Greg Abbott's fault if he's the governor and it's Texas A&M?
Leland, I think that what we are seeing in Texas is just a symptom, is just a little glimpse of what's happening all across the country at other universities and other places. Fact of the matter is that
Well, I understand that, but you'd think that the governor of a state would not allow this kind of behavior in his state, right?
You would hope so. I don't know that everything always gets to the governor's desk, but I certainly hope that.
I mean, spending big money seems. I want to get back to this though. If all of a sudden they decide that they really want professors with plaid ties, and there's not a lot of professors with plaid ties, and all of a sudden they start paying professors with plaid ties more because they're in demand. Or professors who can teach African American history, and most of them happen to be African American, or Alaskan history. Most of them happen to be Alaskan. What's the problem with supply and demand?
There's no problem with selecting people based on their aptitude, based on their skills.
And if we pay them more, if we pay somebody who teaches African American history or Alaskan poetry more than Professor Lowry, you wouldn't have a problem with that then.
It would depend on how the way the program is worked. If it's being done as a proxy for racial discrimination, we'd absolutely have a problem with it, and that would be a factual determination. But what we're seeing with this instance, for our client, and what we're seeing across the country in all kinds of places, is not people saying things between the lines, asking people to read between the lines. We encourage people of certain backgrounds to apply for this position. We strongly promote these ideals of having proportional representation amongst our faculty members. What they are saying now is blatantly, we are looking to hire people of this background and the other background, and people of the other backgrounds, you're not eligible to apply. And that's flat out wrong. And no matter how you structure the program, you cannot do that as an employer. You can't do that in Title VI.
It's interesting you say employer, because this is different a little bit because it's a public institution. So you're bound, the institution's bound by different laws that you all point out in your suit. There's a lot of companies, though.
I just want to point out, I can see where these ideologies are kind of imploding on themselves. I can kind of see it, the connection. It's hilarious. I'm gonna let the whole thing play out because it's not very long.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what I mean by that in a second.
Okay.
That have done proxy versions of this. Google, Pfizer, Microsoft, IBM have excluded white nation applicants from fellowships. Amazon offers Black and Latino Native American entrepreneurs a $10,000 stipend to launch their own delivery startups. We're hearing about banks offering no down payments in predominantly minority neighborhoods. Does the same rule apply?
Absolutely. And in fact, in one of those examples that you just mentioned, it's a case that we filed just a few weeks ago, or about a month ago, against Amazon for doing the exact same thing, is making programs available to people because of the color of their skin and not available to other people because of the color of their skin. This is illegal, and it has been illegal in all contexts for a long time, especially when it involves a state or governmental entity that's involved. Private corporations are no different, although the rules are a little bit different.
I'm interested sort of how you guys picked this case. America First Legal Fund, large connection to Stephen Miller, who was formerly with President Trump, longtime advisor as well, video there. I know you were with the former Attorney General. How much of this is a proxy for Republican politics and bringing these issues up that are going to be helpful culturally come November?
Leland, I don't think that it has anything to deal with anything that's going on in November. It has nothing to do with elections. This has everything to do with doing what's right now for the American people, being willing to step up and engage these righteous battles.
The idea, I just want to understand, is Professor Lowry been hurt at all through this? He still has a job. He's still being paid as a professor, the going rate. How has he been injured?
He is being injured the same way that any other injury would come to someone if the roles were reversed. Picture yourself as an African-American applicant who wants to apply for a job at some prestigious university or at a private corporation, but the private corporation says Black people can't apply. That harm, his inability to even apply for a program, is a harm in and of itself. It's something that we recognized and widely accepted.
All right. Hey, counsel, it's good to see you. Thank you. Come back if you get an injunction, all right?
Sounds good, sir. Right. We'll do it.
Thank you. Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television program.
So yeah, where I was talking about with where it seemed like it was imploding on itself is, so from what I understand, the suing part is coming in where they're trying to hire specific races, specific groups of people for specific positions.
Yep.
So that's where the ideology is imploding.
Yeah.
On itself, because you have people that see the inconsistencies in what they're saying. Because the people within the ideologies are complaining about discrimination, but then they're discriminating, and now they're going to get sued for the discrimination, which is hilarious.
Yeah,
it's like the ideology is imploding on itself.
Well, and this is the beginning of men actually standing up, because this whole thing was brought about by discrimination against white and Asian men.
Gotcha. Hey, yeah, Iridium Kush. Yeah, thanks for coming out.
All right, good night, Kush.
Thanks for everyone who came out. I know there's a lot of people that probably were already tired. I think, how long have we been? We've been going for 2 hours.
Yeah,
yeah, I know. I remember when you used to go for like what, 8-9 hours.
Still do.
That was you still do. It's so nuts. I can't do it, but
Yeah.
I know you're a trooper. You used to. I think the longest one we did was like 8 or 9 hours. We started at like probably like 6 or 7 o'clock. I went all the way to like 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
I remember because like that was when I was still living with my mom, and I think I annoyed the hell out of everyone.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems pretty straightforward. What's going on? That's cool. It might have a domino effect. A lot of people were complaining about the so-called left. Let's see if. I don't think the traditional conservatives will have the courage to actually blame women for anything.
No, they won't.
That's the
Nobody.
That's the main issue is the traditional conservatives. Their ego. They're very egotistical, but their ego is centered around their like. They're very sanctimonious. They don't like they don't want to get down and dirty like the left. They think they're better than the left, but in a very sanctimonious, self-righteous way.
Yeah.
If they could get over that, I think we would actually get further, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I know.
They always act like they're more dignified and stuff like that. It's like, yeah.
And they're not subjected to the wiles of women.
Yeah. And they still prop women up on the pedestal, just like the left does.
Yeah.
The left throws women under the bus every now and then, though, don't they? No, they do. Yeah. So, like with sports. So what's happening in sports is women are being thrown under the bus with the transgender athletes. It's going to trickle into other stuff. It just takes a while, but that's kind of where like you see again that ideology imploding on itself because the women are trying to compete and like the whole or one facet of the ideology is women have to succeed and they have to we have to support women's advancement, but then you have men coming into women's environments and out competing them. Mm-hmm. And like making them meaningless again, right?
Yeah.
Which is like, that's the patriarchy there, right?
No, that's a product of feminism.
It's hilarious because you can kind of see where this mental thing is like kind of killing itself.
Yeah.
It's just the people who have enough sense. We're just sitting back and we're just like, when is it gonna die?
Well, people keep supporting women's bullshit, so it's on life support.
Women do. So women I've noticed they're the ones keeping feminism alive. They're very naive. And you ask a lot of women if they support feminism. The only reason they say they won't in a lot of cases is if there's a negative stigma behind it. But they still believe in equality, just without they still believe in equality of not equality of opportunity, but equality of outcome. They still believe in that. They still believe in nonsensical aspects of things. They still believe men and women are the same or should be treated the same. They still believe women should. They still believe women should dominate politics and women should. Some women go to the point of saying women should have their fair share of power because men have had it in the past or something like that.
Yeah, they're all full of shit.
It's our turn kind of mindset.
They're all full of shit.
And you even get the women who say they'll say if women were in power, then the world would be better. When I hear that, I laugh because we already know what women would be like in power. It's just
women are in power now, and it fucking sucks. So
they're not. No, they're in pockets of power. They're not in the complete, not completely. Now, in the sphere that me and
you hold on, and it's men like you that keep shit stopped.
Why?
Because you won't fucking admit that women are destroying the world.
Of course they are.
that means they're in power. Who are you not allowed to criticize?
You're not allowed to criticize women. You're not allowed to criticize black people. You're not allowed to criticize. You can't criticize Jewish people. You can't criticize.
Yeah,
It's
but
like
who
you
says?
you can't criticize the
Who
alphabet.
who says though? Who says that?
That's coming from the men at the top.
Why? Who
Because
is it really coming from?
me and you have a philosophical difference here.
Yeah.
Because the men at the top, they want the men at the bottom to be pussy whipped
No.
by the women, and
Not
they kind of weaponize the women against
No. See, and I think that is where, because I see it completely different. I mean,
I know you do.
I think it's in a man's nature to hold men accountable for their actions, right? Even though there's women behind these men forcing the men's hand in this bullshit and blaming men, because that's what feminists do. The men are like, oh, it's the man's fault, even though they're being terrorized and being held hostage and being made to do these things. Women drive the bus on where society goes. Women are the nurturers, so women are in power currently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, we just have a slight difference in things, but like I still believe women are in power. I just think that the way that they're in power is different than the way you think they're in power.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, we both want the same thing, regardless. I want people to realize that women are wreaking havoc on society.
Yeah.
But in order for us to realize that, we have to come to terms with women's shadow. We have to come to terms with women having a dark side. Which, if you look at my my content, like that is what I'm trying to demonstrate. Like I'm trying to show people that. But when they look at it, what do they say when they see content like, man, just go, oh, you're bitter, or oh, what's wrong with you? Like they're not thinking about all of that when they're people aren't that, or those, the typical thing people say, well, that's not what people are like in general. That's only a few people or something like that. Okay.
Nope.
You can't.
And that's why I say it's worse than you think.
No, I know.
You're pointing out true stuff, but I'm saying it's more prevalent than you give it credit for.
I have a little, even though I have a slight dark side, I think I'm a little bit more optimistic than a lot of men.
Yeah.
On what's going on. You just wouldn't think it looking at my content.
Yeah.
Just because the titles are so dark.
Yeah. No, I
but
like.
When you listen to it, it's very reasonable. It's like, wow, this guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to take a long time for society to come to terms with a woman's shadow, like as a collective.
I don't know about that.
But that's one of the things that's causing the imbalance.
The perception.
We assume that it'd be best for women to stay around. And I understand that they're better at nurturing children and stuff, but the fact that we think a guy is going to like cause harm to a little child just because he's being around a child, that's
bullshit.
That's not good. Like compared to a woman, and we think that the woman is, and all the stories of women and what they do to grade 4 through grade 6 through grade 8, like children, they get away with so much stuff. I think one chick, she ended up sexually assaulted. Like she assaulted a kid. I can't say it was mutual because it was a kid, right? But I think she got like a year, maybe 6 years on parole. Like she basically got a tap on the shoulder, but that happens so often.
Yeah.
But there's still no stigma about female teachers being around, especially attractive young female teachers being around children.
Right. Even
after the amount of cases that are coming out. that neoteny that y'all have with like the high pitched voices and soft skin, especially the younger women, that is part of why it's difficult for people to come to terms with women's shadow. Just like it's difficult for people to, we have things like juvie, right? For children, we have juvie, we have, little tiny slaps on the wrist before we treat them like adults. It's the same mechanism. It's just like for women, and I don't think it's a difference. I don't know. I guess you could argue it's a difference in intelligence. No?
No, it's a difference in societal accountability.
There's about the same level of accountability we give children versus women. It's just women have more power than children.
Yeah.
But they're held to about the same amount of actually, children are actually held more accountable for their actions because parents are quicker to punish their children.
Yep.
But we allow women to do what they do because we're like, oh, well, they're adults, let them do their own thing. But that let them do their own thing is like, oh, well, don't hold them accountable.
Right.
Like you got a lot of young women right now, they're going around ruining people's lives. Like you have them literally leaving their partners, and like their partners are like basically like self-deleting or like harming themselves or something like that. And these women are literally just moving on like it's no big deal. And their family members, like what's interesting is whenever they do this stuff, like there's no, like their families don't have like conversations with them and say like, what are you doing? Like, this is like strange or anything. It's just when they say, oh, this is what I choose. It's like, well, whatever makes you feel good. It's like the most dangerous words in the world. Like one of the main reasons why we don't have accountability from women are those words. Whatever makes you feel good. If it makes you happy.
Right.
Those phrases.
Yep.
Are kind of what is ruining the world.
Yep.
Well, whatever makes you happy. Like if I ever raise a daughter, if those words come out of my mouth, I'm gonna take like I'm probably gonna take a 2 or 3 day timeout. I'm gonna go up on a mountain and just scream, go lift a boulder, have a moment and just be like, okay, I gotta change that, because if I raise another feminist, if I raise another one of those, then I'm just contributing to this thing.
Yep.
That's another thing that a lot of people aren't realizing. The whole red pill guys, the ones who have, because a lot of red pill guys, they actually have children, and they're raising the next generation of daughters. So those guys, it's actually extremely important that they raise them in a certain way. But the level of awareness that they have, similar to ours, I would hope, that's going to have a big paradigm shift, because you're going to have a group of women who are, they weren't given that whatever makes you feel good thing, that I'm daddy's little girl. Hopefully. Right. There are some red pill men who are still going to raise them that way, because it's partly their nature. And some guys won't fight that. The whole daddy's little girl thing is the neoteny to the extreme. The guy just has this, oh, you're so cute thing. And he just carries it on forever. And those women are the worst, by the way, because that was kind of like my ex. Her dad thought she was the cutest thing ever. And she would hide so much from him. And I just kind of sat back and watched this, like, right? And there were times where I was like, if I told this dude, he'd probably crack. He'd probably end up thinking that I was lying to him and get mad at me. And I'd just be like, nope. But those women are pretty dark. And if they get in a situation, oh, well, my daddy will get me out of this situation.
Right. And she was from a 2-parent household, huh?
She was. Her father was in the picture for a long time. He was like a military. It was like I think it's kind of like a military family. He was technically there, but he was in and out. So she had daddy issues. She had abandonment issues and stuff like that. She always thought I was like abandoning her, ironically. It was just one of those things, man. She was like one of those girls where you just had to become toxic, otherwise you couldn't keep her around because that's what she was used to.
Crazy bitch.
Yeah, I was too. It made for fun time, whenever we were having fun. But like whenever I'm like, most times, like I was just trying to chill out, right? But she would like manufacture drama. Like she tried to say I was like cheating and stuff, and I told her straight up, I'm like, nope. I've thought about it quite a lot because you're withholding, affection and stuff all the time. To the point where I would like be trying to reach over and grab her. She'd be like, no, like, and I'd be like, what? Because at that point, she was actually my fiance.
Yeah.
So we were pretty far along. And I remember you making jokes like, well, are you all going to make babies or something like that? Like, no, because bitch is crazy. It's kind of hard.
See? She needed
to do that when you realize that someone was trying to jack your sperm for the first 2 years of the relationship. Yeah, but like, I mean, it's good to understand the personal experiences because a lot of guys, I've noticed, pretty much every guy I run into has a crazy woman story.
Yeah,
every guy. All of my siblings, before I actually got into a relationship, they all had crazy women stories.
Yeah.
They had some crazy woman they had to boot. And then they met some other woman who was just probably better at hiding it.
There's we have a epidemic of crazy bitchery. You know that, right?
And the only reason is just because they weren't held accountable.
Yep.
Their parents were just morally bankrupt.
Society also, it's not just the parents, it's society at large.
Yeah, there's and can we just burn it? Just burn it.
No, we need crazy bitch boot camps everywhere.
It takes too much energy to convince women that they're wrong because they're emotional creatures. You have to. They respond easier if you just threaten them with some sort of loss of resource or just you threaten them with force or resources. Or loss of resources, and they kind of straighten up pretty fast.
Yeah.
It's so much easier.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you don't have, you have to rely on him. What? I don't want to have to rely on a guy. I think there's this other thing too. I was kind of unrelated. We were talking about. Let me not backtrack too much.
Go ahead.
There was a lady I was talking to, and she was talking about how she wanted to have like a prestigious career while her husband was having a prestigious career at the same time. So I think there's a conflict of interest with modern relationships because the women are trying to be just as prestigious as the men. And they're getting like super angry at the men for being like she tried to make an argument. She was like, well, guys don't have to put their children in daycare or take care of them. They don't have to worry about that. They can just put all their energy into working and stuff like that. I'm just kind of looking at this lady like she has no idea that the male like the males have to do this, otherwise you won't like them. Like like, do women actually not understand that, like intuitively?
No. Ideologically infected women don't understand that. The ones that have been convinced that they need to put a career over having children, they don't understand. Because they're fucking fucked in the head.
Yeah. It makes sense.
And they're going against their biology.
Until they're like 30, 32, and then they try to make a ditch effort to do IVF and stuff. Or surrogacy. Well, the guys will do surrogacy, but the women will try to do the IVF thing, which is like what, thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Is that a dog? No, it's a cat. What's your cat's name?
Oshawott.
Oshawa.
Oshawott, like the Pokemon.
Oshawott. I don't know what the hell Pokemon that is. I have to look that up.
Yeah. Cameron named her like 8 years ago. So.
What is that? I'm gonna have to look that. I don't know what Pokemon that is. Probably the newer ones. I don't really got too much more. I was gonna look. Did you ever watch the rest of Janice Fiamingo and her conversation with Tammy?
No. I still have about, 40 minutes left on it.
All right, that's a long one, so I'm just gonna watch that in my spare time, and I'll probably do like a video on it or something like that.
Yeah.
But
I left a timestamp where Tammy quoted some stats about Hungary and how their legislation that they've put in, how it's changed the society. I guess the birth rate went up to like 1.57, I think she said it did in the past decade.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it increased. So a lot of tax breaks for people that have families.
They're skating around the issue, right? Because like all they really have to do is just create social prestige in the males, just increase their status, and the birth rates would probably double in less than 5 years. So I think the Hungarian prime minister, like he's doing okay, because I know they're doing tax breaks and saying like, well, you'll be able to pay your house off faster and stuff like that. But they're skating around. They're better than us right now. They're doing better than us. At least they're attacking it. At least they can see it. They're economists. They're strategists and things like that. They can see the issues, and they're throwing out, oh, you get a tax break if you start families, and we'll do this and we'll do that, and we'll pay off this and that. They don't want to outright go to the solution though, because these people, these political people, they watch MGTOW and Red Pill content.
Yeah,
they watch that stuff.
Yeah.
Sneeko, he was actually they actually played his clips in the Senate.
Really?
From what I hear.
Isn't he canceled at the moment?
Yeah, that's the reason they played his clips. There was a meeting. I think Susan was in that meeting.
Really?
Yeah. She was in that meeting, and I'm guessing they were trying to vote on people to get rid of off of platforms or something. I don't know. Maybe it's the social media overlords meeting. But you got I don't know. There's definitely a lot of things going on.
Yeah. Well, thanks for chatting with me about men in the mental health field and why we need more of them.
Who is Unwanted Contriver?
Contriver. Yeah.
Is that who I think it is?
Contriver?
Yeah.
Indian, the Deepak Chopra of MGTOW. It's one of my favorite people on the internet.
This is probably as long as my streams could go, about 2 hours. I can't do the 7, 8, 9 stuff that you do.
Yeah.
That's nuts. I know we used to do it back then. I don't even know how we did it back then. But then again, I had like a crazy good computer back then. I didn't have to worry about connection or anything.
I'm very goal oriented, so until I get feminism seen as the domestic terrorist organizations, many that there are,
well,
worldwide, yeah.
I would say look to TikTok, because there are a lot of people protesting feminism,
Good.
it's starting to get bigger and bigger, and TikTok
Good.
is actually starting to become a very big social tool,
Good.
a very big political tool.
Good.
All right. Well, I don't really have too much more. Of course, just to let people know where I'm going to go, the direction for my channel. If you would like to also, do you want to talk about where are you going for your channel? What direction do you want to go?
Oh, I'm just, I've actually collected all the information that I needed to prove a lot of things. So I'm actually working on sorting through content at the moment.
Cool. So you were never, were you banned off of, like, did they ever try to get rid of your channels or something like that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I have quite the smear campaign going against me at the moment. I'm trying to get all these crazy bitches to work together because maybe they can get me canceled if they do. But it's like herding cats.
I never see. I guess the only gripe I have against your method of dealing with those kind of people is it just takes too much energy. Like I feel like I'd end up croaking. Like if I tried to deal with someone.
That's why men can't sort out crazy women. You don't have it in you. It's not a one and done thing. It takes like female competition or female sorting out of other females, female aggression. You guys don't even know what that looks like half the time.
No, we just try to sleep our way through things. Like we just try to sleep people. That it's such a more, that's our method of doing things. We just use physical dominance and hierarchies, right?
Yeah.
And men, we understand that quite easy. But anyways, I'm not even gonna ever try to deal with that because I would lose my mind.
Well, that's not your job, though.
No, it's not. My job is I'm built to come up with solutions and to exist within hierarchies. So my channel, the direction I want to go, I want to. There's a couple of directions I could go. I was thinking I could go to the more spiritual, which I don't want to really go exactly 100%. I kind of delve into that a little bit. If you notice some of my content, like I'll go, okay, I'm talking about gender dynamics, but then I'm also talking about aspects of our self-development and stuff like that. Then I'll kind of dance between the two.
Yeah.
I don't want to turn into like a fairy, esoteric kind of fairy and just stay there, because then that would kind of isolate my original focus, which was just for people to understand each other better, especially the genders. So I think I want to focus on, I want to delve a little bit more into the dark aspects of the feminine with the archetypes that I do. Like, to the point where I might actually end up probably losing about 10 or 12 different subscribers. I think that would be like a 20 or 30 video campaign where I actually start throwing in stats and figures and start going into deeper aspects of psychology and talking about aspects of like Jungian psychology a little bit, not too much, because it would kind of alienate the audience.
Hey, will you do me a favor?
What's up?
Will you do one for me, my archetype? Like, describe me, my personality, and then describe what'll happen if these crazy bitches don't start behaving themselves.
Like how you'll respond to them?
Yeah. It'd be a good warning for them.
I gotta think about how I would do that. Your personality.
That can go as dark as it needs to go. So
I'd probably do, so what I would do if I would do that, you'd probably have to watch my videos and be like, oh, he's talking about me, because if I'm going to talk about you, I'm just going to talk about you as an archetype.
No, tag me.
Oh, you want me to tag you and just say, hey, this is a man.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's kind of outside of what I typically do, so it would just probably end up just being like a live stream. Okay. It wouldn't be like a like of me saying, "Oh, this is this person," because when I do my little single videos, I'm always trying to talk about archetypes.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I'm archetype fluid, so there's not one main one.
You definitely fit within a couple, which is why it's harder. You notice with what's her name? With
Harley.
yeah, Harley, it was easier. Like I
Yeah.
didn't really have to think about it.
Yeah.
Some people fit easier, and some
Mhm.
people are a little bit harder to put. Like with a simp, right? That archetype is extremely easy to figure that out. Like, oh, you fit within this box. You needed to please your mother, so now you want to please your mother and other women. So it's very
Right.
simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like doing this. Towards the end, I just let people know the direction of where I want to go with my channel every time I
Okay.
do like live streams and stuff. So just to reiterate, for people watching, the direction for my channel, I want to, again, I'm going to do probably a campaign of about 10 to 20 different videos, and I'm going to go into the deeper, darker aspects of feminine psychology.
Yes.
But I'm going to do it through archetypes, and I'm going to try to start scripting out the videos so I don't, because I do a lot, I've noticed I do a lot of right?
Yeah.
I think about the stats when I'm talking about these things, but I don't put the stats in. And I don't want to feel it too much. You know, wheat waffles. Like I don't want my channel to become a wheat waffle. Wheat waffle. His video is literally just 90% stats. He just goes, well, 90% this and this and this percent that percent.
Oh.
That would that'd be terrible for my channel. Like there's like I like adding esoteric things, and then I like adding stats, and then I like adding my own opinion on things, and then like stories.
Yeah.
Stories are good, and it doesn't
Yeah.
always have to be so complex. It can just be simple things. So after these series of campaigns that I'm going on, I'm also going to talk about briefly. I've started this already, talking about the dark aspects of male psychology. It's a little bit more known, so it's not really something that I'm super interested in. But I want to do it just to add balance to my channel. So I'm going to add a little bit of that. It's probably like maybe 5 videos on dark male psychology. But then I'm going to start talking about aspects of the positive, and then I'm going to start talking about accountability, which that is going to be rooted in, it's probably going to be universal. And I think that's probably where it's going to round out. And then from there, I'll probably just do live streams, and I'll probably branch out into more political and social things.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I got. I want to read these before I head out.
Contriver.
Yeah, he's throwing out a lot of stuff all of a sudden.
I know.
What's going on? He was talking about Esther Villar. Everyone needs to read the book written. Yeah, if you want to have nightmares, yeah. She has good stuff. Now, she pretty much, the stuff that I'm doing with my archetypes, she pretty much like, that's like, what is this like? It's like vodka. I'm trying to do like Smirnoff, right? Like I'm throwing out Smirnoff, Esther Villar. That's straight vodka, man. That's some hard stuff. When I first listened to that stuff, I had a permanent on my face. Have you watched her? Have you ever listened to her stuff? Esther Villar?
No. Contriver's been suggesting it.
She started writing that stuff in the 70s. I believe the 60s or 70s, one of them. But like, I don't know. You just take a look at it whenever you can. It's interesting. Sir GM is very okay. Let's see. Carl Jung. Okay, you know Carl. Yeah, he's got some stuff. He got good stuff. Esoteric things, for example. You want an example of esoteric? So I talk about energy. I talk about
No.
Oh, was he saying something different? He was saying esoteric things. It looks like he was saying like
question mark. Yeah.
all
Hey, I'm gonna let you close this out, okay?
All right. Well, it's good talking to you, Amanda.
Yeah, good chatting with you too.
Absolutely.
And I look forward to my archetype mix-up.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. It's probably going to take a while.
Okay. I know I'm quite complex, aren't I?
Yeah, have a good night.
All right, you too. Bye.
Dark triad traits. Accountability is paramount. Not if you're a woman. 70s, good sir. Good chatting, sir. Found others. Oh, thank you, man. Yeah. I think GM, her channel was probably around either a year or two before mine. I found her channel. I think I was in a Walmart parking lot, and I was looking up stuff on my phone, and it popped up on like the notifications or something, and I clicked it, and I started hearing people talk about issues regarding feminism and stuff. That's how I first heard about her channel, which was pretty cool. It has 70% alcohol, sir. I didn't know that. Like, I don't know. Their green apple tastes really good. It just seems like it's not as much as vodka, which is why I brought it up. Yeah, but I'm pretty much done. I don't really want to cover men's mental health directly. I guess I do because I talk about incels and stuff like that. Yeah, I know everyone's got an interesting past. I'm not here to judge. Man, I think I went about 2 hours and 30 minutes on this. This was a good conversation. Yeah, absolutely. There were a lot of people that came out. Some people I didn't expect. Laney. A lot of people I met in the past that I don't even completely remember. I'm sure we had a good conversation though. Pang 1, Iridium Kush. Yeah, it was a good combo. In the future, I will have guests on who are somewhat different guests. There's one lady I'm supposed to start doing podcasts with in the future. She got her kids taken away by 3-letter agency, CPS. And I am going to talk to her and we'll do an interview. We'll talk about state programs, state organizations, and stuff like that. Very briefly and not too much because YouTube will probably lose their mind. What else am I going to do in the future? I was thinking about posting workouts, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep that private. Just doing some updates before I end the stream. Yeah, that's kind of all I got. All right. Well, y'all have a good night.